Our next guest was buried alive, left for dead, by a man she once was in love with.
That was the horrendous reality faced by our next guest, Stacey Gwilliam, who somehow managed to claw her way out of a shallow grave after being attacked by her fiancé.
Bloodied and badly bruised, Stacey Gwilliam lies in an induced coma fighting for her life. This is the man who put her there. Fiancé Keith Hughes was often violent, but Stacey was forgiving. Finally, a year ago, she found the courage to leave. But when Hughes discovered her selling her engagement ring, his volcanic temper snapped. In a fit of rage, he strangled her along the Swansea coast, burying her in a makeshift grave. But Stacey was still alive. She woke up, trapped beneath a pile of dirt. The bodybuilder had underestimated her strength. The 34-year-old clawed her way out with her fingernails. Hughes was arrested, boasting police would never find her, but Stacey's incredible will to live made sure justice found him. The 39-year-old is now serving more than 8 years behind bars.
And Stacey joins us now. It's an absolutely shocking story, and it's testament to your enormous strength. I mean, when you were buried alive in the wake of this attack, were you left unconscious? Yes. So you came to sort of underneath dirt and debris.
It was branches, ferns, shrubs were on top of me. When I first came around, it was just, I could hear my heart beating, I could hear the sea in the background, the bird sounds, and everything was slow motion. And so all I could see was blurs of greens, browns, and he was just trying to bring a focus together.
And what was the physical effect on you? Because he'd strangled you, hadn't he?
Yes, he'd strangled me.
And so what were you feeling physically in that moment? I mean, you know, obviously you're confused about where on earth you are and what's going on.
I just couldn't breathe. I was just struggling to breathe. I couldn't move. It was like paralysed state, it felt. And it was just awful, really. It was just trying to get your head together, what's going on around you.
So you clawed your way out of this shallow grave?
It was pulled, obviously the branches and everything was on top of me, and then I tried to get up, I couldn't. I had to then turn, use my nails to get out of where I was, and then literally that was all you could use, because I tried to push, I didn't have no upper strength.
This guy, you know, he'd been abusive to you before.
Yes.
And yet you were engaged to be married. What made you stay with somebody like this?
It was just hoping he would change, believing that he would change. I had remorse from him. Oh, I'm really sorry, I would change for you. When I agreed to the engagement to him, I said to him, this was our last chance. I said it was his last chance. If you don't show any changes, I can't do it.
And what was it that made him snap on this last occasion?
Because I ended the relationship because I couldn't cope any longer. I couldn't cope. I ended the relationship on the Saturday, the 18th of July, and that was the last I seen. On the Sunday, I had threats from him to get to his property, and I wasn't going to his property. And on the Monday then, that's when I bumped into him in the local town centre. Of all the places, he was in the same place, the same time as myself.
And you went on this walk with him, which could have ended in the worst way possible for you.
It was a walk. I didn't really want to do it, but I had no choice. It was either I leave the car and go into his property, his flat, but I rejected because of what happened in 2013.
Which was a previous attack?
Which was a previous attack by himself. He false imprisoned me into a property, which resulted in me jumping out a first floor flat window to escape. And so I said to him, I'm not going in the property. He tried taking the keys out of my ignition, fighting in the car with me to get me out the car, and I said, I ain't going in the property with you.
So in fact the safest thing you thought at that time was to go on a walk in a public place?
Yes.
With him, where you felt that at least there would be help if anything happened?
That's correct.
Then you suffered this terrible attack.
Yes.
And as you were describing, you've clawed your way out of this shallow grave. Who found you? Who managed to get you to hospital? Because you were in a terrible state.
I actually had to... when I clawed up back up the slopes, there was the golf range up the top. Nobody was on the golf range, so I had to try and somehow get to the car park of the golf range. So that's where then I used the slope going down to try and get me to my feet and use the slope. So that's where I got to my feet, and then stumbled. People saw somebody up in the distance, but they thought it was an animal at first because I was on all fours.
Do you think he definitely thought he'd left you for dead?
Yeah, that's what he told the police. That's what he told the police when he got arrested, that he'd killed me.
He got 8 years?
He got life imprisonment, but he can apply for parole in 8.5 years.
So he could be out in 8 years. How do you feel about the prospect of this guy walking the streets again?
Frightened. But I'm going to be in a stronger place then, because I've got a lot of support.
You were simply asked to wear a skirt, or something else was threatened?
I was told that wearing a skirt was more feminine and they wanted me to look better because it was better for the punters who were coming into the restaurant at the time.
Were you worried about losing work?
Yeah, I was worried about losing my job